Today we're going to talk about how to set up your squat. We're going to talk about everything that you need to do before you actually start your squat rep. So from the moment your hands touch the bar to the point in which you unlock your hips and knees is what we're going to be covering today. When we're setting up, we want a number of things to take place. First, we want to be stable and secure with a bar tight on our back before we start the rep. And we want to bring the bar out of the rack in a way that's efficient and not going to be wasteful of energy. It's also going to be time efficient, it doesn't take too long, and is going to be one that's repeatable, consistent, and that you feel confident doing at all loads and especially maximal loads. There's many ways to skinny cat. There are many ways to set up your squat, but I'm going to take you through some of the most important things that I consider and that I try to teach the guys that I coach. Okay, first thing is we need to grab the barbell. Obviously, we want to take a grip that is even. You can use the power rings. If you are unsure, a good place to start is put your pinky fingers on the rings. From there, we're going to get the bar tight on our back. Now, it doesn't matter if you're low bar or high bar. That's not the point of the discussion, but we want to get the bar tight on our back and stable on our back and in a position that's repeatable, and we can find that really easily. From there, the next really important part is that we need our feet to be under the bar, and this is where a lot of lifters get it wrong. They stand with their feet behind the bar sometimes, and this especially happens as the weight gets heavier. It's almost like lifters can be afraid to get under the bar properly. We want our feet to be directly under the bar. That is, if we draw a line directly under the bar onto the floor, we should be standing so that our feet, so that that line is on our midfoot. So it's like right in the middle of our foot. So we want to be standing directly under the bar. And I'm constantly having to cue people, get your feet forward, move your feet forward, because they end up standing behind the bar. Also, we want to have a narrow stance. And this is something that a lot of lifters find uncomfortable as well. Most people kind of by default will take their squat stance and they'll stand in a stance that's too wide under the barbell. Remember, when we're bringing the bar out of the rack, we're not actually squatting it, we're setting up to squat. And a much stronger position is going to be one that's narrow. The rule of thumb that I use is that we want a conventional deadlift stance under the bar. So the stance that you take when you do conventional deadlifts is the stance that I would take to get the bar out of the rack. And from there, I teach people to take 3 steps in the walkout. The first step is 1 step to clear the rack, and that step is really short. The rule of thumb that I use is that the toes of the back foot should line up with the heels of the front foot. The first step is just to clear the racks, and it's straight backwards, not sideways, and it's very short, about 1 foot length. From there, the second step is out into your squat stance, and then the third step is out into your squat stance. And from there should be no more shuffling or movement. At first, you might need to shuffle your feet to find the exact position for you, but over time, you should be able to find that pretty instantly. The last thing that I'm going to say is that we don't want to walk the bar out too far. We don't want to waste unnecessary energy. But that said, if you're taking 3 steps, it should be fine. So the 3-step walkout that I teach is applicable no matter what your squat stance is, even if you're a wide stance squatter or a narrow stance squatter, even if you're the kind of person that does like to clear the rack quite a bit, or if you're happy to just take really small steps, 3 steps will always work. You just have to make it fit your requirements, okay? So I'm going to take you through that whole process, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay, first step, like I said, is we're going to grab the bar nice and evenly, and we're going to find a position on our back that suits you. For now, I'm just going to do high bar, just for comfort's sake. Now, look at my feet. A lot of people are going to stand back here. And this is wrong because when they stand up, the bar comes out of the rack, and you can see that the bar is actually out of the rack now. This will work at 50%, 60%, but once you get above 80, 90, 100%, it's going to make the bar feel really heavy because you have to lever with your back to get it out. Instead, we need our feet to be forward and under the bar. And again, notice how my feet are in this conventional stance. They're not out here. Right? Even if you were a wide stance squatter, you don't need to unrack the bar like this. The reason being is that when you walk out, now you have to twist and shuffle. You have to do this, right? And that's really uncomfortable and weak, and you're very likely to hit the racks. So instead, we want to have a narrow stance with our feet under our hips like this. And from here, we can stand up really strong. So we're standing here with our feet together, feet under the bar, and in a stable position. And from here, now we can start our 3-step walkout. Like I said, that first step is a clearance stride. You're not trying to walk back very far. You're only looking to take the like a minimal kind of stance back. So as I said, toes line up with heels like this. Ooh, that was a bad example. All right, start again. Toes line up with heels. And you'll see now I've just cleared the rack and I haven't had to do much more than that. And you can see my left toe lines up with my right heel. and from here into my squat stance, into my squat stance. It's a very simple process. Now I'll show you a couple of different examples. Let's say I wanted to take a really wide squat stance. It would look like this. 1, 2, 3. Let's say I wanted to take a really short stride back. So let's say I was happy to take just a couple of little small steps back, or not be very far from the rack at all. It would look like this. Or if you wanted to be, you know, if you were maybe claustrophobic, which some people are, and you wanted to step further back, it would look like this. But it's still 3 strides. And the important part is that it's very fluid and very smooth. A cue that I often say to lifters is that you don't want to stumble the bar out of the rack. You want to walk the bar out of the rack. You even want to dance the bar out of the rack. You would never walk in real life by stumbling. You walk by lifting your feet and moving your feet confidently and being very clear and deliberate with where you put your feet. And the same thing is true when you're walking back into your squat stance. You don't want to stumble and you don't want the weight to feel heavier than it is. You want to lift your feet off the ground and be deliberate with where you place them and where you put your feet. I hope all of that made sense. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comment section below. That's how I would teach a 3-step walkout and a squat unrack. There are some lifters that do a 2-step walkout, but that's not the point of today's video. I might cover that in the future at a future time. So if you've got any questions, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll talk to you next time.